Anime is action, sci-fi.
Oh, hey, look, it's a joke that's only comical if you remember ADV films that somehow everybody has made. Oh, there's a deep-ass cut. So with the recent release of Neo Yokio and shows like Avatar The Last Airbender, the question has come up, are these shows anime? And my short answer is no. Long answer, obviously forthcoming, but if you're the sort to disagree and make loud stupid noises in the comment section, stop watching now, because it's really not worth the effort on either one of our parts. Now, my personal definition of what makes anime anime, which some of you have vehemently disagreed with, rather rudely might I add, on Twitter, is not your definition, and I guess that's okay. I compartmentalize a whole lot of media so I can divvy it up and try to take the proper cultural contextualization with whatever it is. So, therefore, to my reckoning, anime is something that is produced by a Japanese team, written for a Japanese audience. This is a two-part definition because it's very important to have both of those in place to make it really click as anime. Now, definition-wise, anime is just their word for cartoons, and that's fine. But since we're living in a world where we didn't just start calling it Japanese cartoons back in the 80s, we're stuck with their loan word, which in itself is maybe from the French word just meaning animated. It's contested, but it's worth touching on. At any rate, this is what we're having to deal with, and that's how it goes. Therefore, we are going to move forward under the assumption that anime means certain things. Now, some people argue that saying that anime is something that only the Japanese can produce is a form of Orientalism, as described by Edward Said. In this estimation, they say that this view stems from Westerners being patronizing towards non-Western powers. To this, I say eat my entire butt. I am not essentializing Japan as a society or a culture, nor am I saying that Western culture is somehow more rational or whatever may be leveled at me for bringing this up. No, it is a different function I'm describing here, and I'll break it down forthwith. But I feel I would be remiss if I didn't ping that argument before I bounced into the meat of this video. So here's the breakdown of what makes anime a Japanese institution instead of something stylized. It's written with certain cultural constructs and social mores in mind. Now, whether or not it actually dices with those social mores and constructs, or just follows along with it, is up to interpretation, but they have those in mind in some level. Japan is a different society than America. It is a more traditional society with rather more rigidly defined roles and expectations. Character tropes that don't exist in the West, like the class president character or the whole senpai-kohai relationship, are things that have cultural currency there that we have a window into but ultimately do not possess in Western society. Now, we as a Western audience can get pretty well versed at reading these sorts of things, understanding them on a deep level, but it is not ours. It is theirs. Their priorities with storytelling and character development are distinct and deserve their own designation in the grand scheme of medium. Just like the priorities that function in, say, Doctor Who, or whatever French cartoon you might want to bring up, are substantially different. If you look at other countries, you can see that their methods of storytelling are in fact different and distinct and should be considered such. It is also worth noting that globalization is kind of changing the way that we see ourselves and other cultures. But at the same point, just because One Punch Man appeals to Westerners and Hiroaka looks a lot like High School Avengers, the character traits and archetypes therein are still Japanese styled. Likewise, just because Neo Yokio looks like anime, it is very much not. These are American-styled characters, and while the influence is there, it's a nod to the thing it's trying to be, not being the thing. Avatar looks the part and has a very strong pan-Asian influence, but it is not anime because it was produced with an American audience in mind and marketed accordingly. If I produced a cartoon that looked like a mecha show, it would not be an anime, because what I would be making would be produced primarily for a Western market, not a Japanese one, and I am not writing for the Japanese market because I don't have the cultural currency to do it. Nobody is going to understand the cultural currency better than the people who are minting that same currency. I'm using the term cultural currency, which is just the idea that inside your institutions and your worldview, you have a certain amount of cultural clout. And expending cultural currency means that it will speak louder to one people group than another, and unfortunately, sometimes the exchange rate will go out of whack. And now that I've tortured this metaphor to death, let's move on. British TV is distinct from American TV. French cartoons are distinct from American cartoons. Anime is a Japanese artifice. animated in Korea for the most part, but so are most American features. But country production is not always country of origin, so back to the point. When it comes to anime, it is a Japanese world. We are just looking into it. And we can learn about that culture, but we're only ever going to be given a window. We will never be part of that. And you know what? That's okay. I refuse to believe that we live in a world where there's some overarching monoculture that everything has to be judged by. Now, we can still point out that, hey, things are a little bit kooky sometimes. Obviously, with this new fucking little sister show that's coming out, we should definitely be casting a very curious eye on things going on over in that little country. But at the same point, not everything has to be creatable by every culture. If I want a Persian-style rug in my home, I'd rather have one made by the artisans who know the craft best. If I want to watch a show about giant robots, I'll probably watch one that's made in Japan because they have a language to their film all their own in that genre. And so, at the end of the day, no, Neo Yokio is not anime, no, Avatar is not anime, yes, Gundam is an anime and all that happy stuff. That should be obvious. It shouldn't be something we should be worrying about. We don't really get the option to change up these definitions in our modern era. We can only really refine them, and I think that the refinement that I've put out on offer here is pretty alright. Now, I may be biased, but realistically, you wouldn't have made it this far if you didn't think I had a point, right? Thanks for tuning in again. I hope you guys are enjoying the editorials I'm putting out, and once again, this is Professor Otaku, the greatest American anituber, signing off.